The galaxy had always laughed at Earth. To them, humans were nothing more than stubborn animals who had learned to use tools and shout into space. They called Earth a young race, a dust world, a footnote in history. They did not know that under the frozen mountains of Antarctica, something had been waiting, something far older than the Galactic Council itself. It began on a night so cold that even the winds seemed to freeze. Deep inside a human research station, alarms suddenly screamed. Dr. Maya Trent, lead geophysicist, stared at her monitor. It showed an energy spike so massive it was impossible. It wasn't coming from above, it was coming from far below, the ice deeper than any drilling project had ever gone. What in the world? She whispered. Before she could speak again, the lights flickered. The temperature in the lab dropped, and the entire station seemed to hum as if a giant engine was waking. Then the ice began to crack. Within hours, a multinational team of scientists, soldiers and engineers had assembled. Using massive drills and explosives, they broke through layers of ancient ice until their lights touched something black, smooth, and far too perfect to be a rock. It stretched farther than their floodlights could reach. Surface was scarred, as though it had been in battles beyond imagination. Strange glowing lines crawled across it, forming symbols no one recognized. "This isn't a meteor," one engineer muttered. "It's a ship." The news reached the Galactic Council within a day. Across the stars, alien ambassadors scoffed. "Humans have found an old piece of space junk," they laughed. "Let them dream. We'll never fly again." Scientists worked. The junk began to change. The glowing lines brightened. The black metal shifted, sealing old scars as though it were healing itself. They hadn't touched the engines, but deep inside the hull, something rumbled. Soldiers were stationed around the site as a precaution, but no one expected what came next. In the dead of night, every human in the excavation heard the same thing, a voice. It wasn't through speakers, and it wasn't in their ears. It was in their minds. It spoke in a language they didn't know, yet somehow understood. "The enemy will come." Panic spread. Some fled the site. Others insisted it was mass hallucination, but Dr. Trent stayed. She placed her hand against the cold hull, and for a moment, it felt warm. 2 days later, the first delegation from the Galactic Council arrived to inspect the discovery. Tall, slender beings with silver skin and cold eyes, they walked around the ship with mocking smiles. "This is your great treasure," one of them sneered. "An old wreck that belongs in a museum. Even if it could fly, it would be slower than our smallest patrol craft." A curious alien reached out to touch one of the glowing panels. The moment his fingers brushed the surface, the panel blazed with light and a shockwave hurled him backward into the snow. His bodyguards aimed their weapons, but the ship's hull shimmered, and their guns powered down in their hands. The council inspectors didn't laugh after that. The next day, the team decided to try opening an entry point. No cutting tool worked, but when a young pilot named Captain Rion Cole stepped forward, the metal rippled under his palm like water. A doorway appeared. Inside, the air was warm, clean, and heavy, with a faint hum. The corridors glowed with soft, golden light. There were no controls like modern ships, only curved walls covered in living metal that seemed to shift as they walked. Cole moved deeper until he reached a chamber at the heart of the vessel. A chair, or something like it, rose from the floor. The moment he sat, the ship came alive. Lights blazed, a hum became a roar, and a name filled his mind. The Revenant. The chair's frame shifted to fit his body perfectly, as if it had been built for him thousands of years ago. His vision filled with impossible images, battles in deep space, enemy fleets burning, alien worlds defended by human warships like this one. He saw creatures made of shadow and flame tearing through star systems. Then the voice spoke again. Clearer this time. "I fought them once. I'll fight them again." Cole's hands gripped the armrests. "Whew," he whispered aloud. "The ones who ended the first human empire. The ones who will come for this world." Above the ice, the hull shifted. Towers rose from the surface like the spines of a sleeping beast. The Galactic Council's ships in orbit reported. Massive energy readings. higher than their own warships could produce. The Council sent urgent messages to Earth. Shut it down before you cause a disaster. But no one on Earth could. Stop it now. Dr. Trent watched from the snow as the ice around the massive black hole cracked and fell away. The ship's engines were not like anything she had seen, swirling rings of light. Bending the air around them, it wasn't waiting for permission. It wasn't asking for help. It was waking up because something was coming. Far out in the darkness of space, beyond the Council's borders, a fleet moved. Ships like black blades, carrying the sigil of the Drexian swarm, they were already on. A course for Earth. The Revenant's voice filled Cole's mind again, stronger than before. The enemy will come, and we will make them remember why they feared us. The galaxy still laughed at humans. But soon, the laughter would stop. The ship had been sleeping for thousands of years. But now its heartbeat was loud enough for everyone inside the research station to feel. Every step on the snow seemed to vibrate, as if the ground itself feared what lay beneath. Captain Rion Cole stood at the open doorway of the ancient warship. The golden light from inside spilled over the snow, casting strange shadows on the gathered scientists and soldiers. None of them spoke. The ship's hum was the only sound, deep and alive. Cole looked back at Dr. Maya Trent. "It wants me inside," he said quietly. She asked. "The ship," Cole replied, his voice steady. "It's alive." He turned and stepped in. The walls shifted slightly as he walked, the metal seeming to follow his movement like ripples on a lake. It was warm, breathing almost. The corridors curved, leading him without hesitation toward the same chamber he had seen before, the command chamber. When he sat in the strange chair, the ship responded instantly. Panels lit up with glowing symbols, and the hum became a steady pulse like a giant heart. The voice returned inside his head. "You are accepted." Cole felt the chair connect with his mind, filling him with a rush of images. He saw Earth as it was now, small and fragile. Then he saw it in another time, shining, powerful, with fleets of warships defending hundreds of worlds. And then he saw the darkness, the Drexian swarm. Ships like endless blades slicing through the stars. The images faded, replaced by the calm voice. "I am the Revenant. I was built to defend the first human empire. You are my pilot now." Outside, Dr. Trent and the others were startled by movement. The ship's massive hull panels shifted, revealing lines of ancient weapons that glowed faintly in the snowstorm. They weren't firing. But the sight alone made several of the Galactic Council inspectors step back. One of them, a tall alien named Viahal Tor, narrowed his silver eyes. "It's primitive or not," he muttered, "that thing is dangerous." Another council member smirked. "Dangerous? It's an old relic. The Drexians would break it apart in minutes." Inside, Cole heard them. Not through speakers, the ship was somehow letting him listen to everything outside. "Do you hear them?" Revenant asked. "I hear them," Cole said. "They mocked your world before. They will not mock it again." Suddenly, the command chamber's walls changed, becoming a vast display. Cole saw a star map appear, but it wasn't the current galaxy. It was older, showing systems and planets no one alive had heard of. A red mark pulsed far from Earth's location. "The enemy moves again," the Revenant said. "The Drexians have found this world. We have little time." Cole's breath slowed. "How long before they get here?" The voice didn't hesitate. "Days." When Cole emerged from the ship, the wind howled around the excavation site. Dr. Trent rushed to him. "What happened in there?" "They're coming," Cole said simply. "And this ship is the only thing that can stop them." The council inspectors exchanged looks. The Drexian swarm hasn't been seen in this part of the galaxy for centuries. Viahal Tor said, "If they are coming, your Earth will burn." Cole looked up at the massive black hole towering above them. "Not if we fly." That made the council laugh again. "Fly. That relic hasn't moved in 10,000 years. Even if it could, you have no fleet, no allies." The ground shook. The snow exploded outward as the ship's engines roared to life, swirling rings of blue-white light spinning in the air. The shockwave knocked the nearest council members off their feet. Cole didn't even give them time to recover. Get your people back. This ship doesn't like uninvited guests. The scientists stepped forward nervously. Captain, we haven't tested the systems yet. We don't know if it can. It can, Cole said firmly. The ship's doorway sealed behind him as he stepped inside again. The Revenant's voice filled the chamber. I will need more than one human. Bring them. Cole understood. He called for a small team of pilots and engineers he trusted. Only 3 were accepted by the ship. The others were gently pushed back by an invisible force when they tried to enter. By nightfall, the Revenant was awake. Its hull glowed faintly under the pale Antarctic moon. The ice around it had melted away completely, revealing its full size, far larger than any modern warship. In orbit, the Galactic Council ships continued scanning it, their captains sending confused reports back to their worlds. The ship's power readings were climbing far beyond what their technology could match, and somewhere in deep space, the Drexian fleet changed course. In the cold silence of space, the Drexian fleet moved like a blade through the dark. Their ships were long, black, and shaped like the talons of some monstrous predator. Each vessel carried weapons meant to rip through planetary defenses in minutes. To them, Earth was just another weak target. They had intercepted the same strange energy signal the Galactic Council had detected. But unlike the Council, they didn't laugh. They remembered it. Inside the lead Drexian warship, Commander Zarth stood before a massive display showing a pulsing point of light. The signal comes from the human world, his officer said. Zarth's eyes narrowed. Impossible. That design was destroyed during the War of Extinction, it seems. One survived. Zarth bared his sharp teeth in a cruel smile. Then we will finish what our ancestors started. Far away on Earth, Captain Rion Cole stood inside the Revenant's command chamber, watching as the ship projected the approaching fleet in red light. Dozens of Drexian ships, more were following behind. They'll be here in less than 3 days, Cole said quietly. Dr. Maya Trent looked pale. 3 days? The Council isn't even sending help. They still think this is just an old relic. Cole didn't answer. Could feel the ship listening. They think we are weak, the Revenant's voice said inside his mind. They do not remember me, but they will. Cole walked toward the front of the chamber. Can you fight them alone? I have fought more. But you are not ready. You must learn. The floor shifted under him, transforming into a glowing sphere of light. In seconds, Cole was surrounded by simulated battles, Drexian warships. Charging, human fleets breaking apart, weapons he didn't understand, tearing space itself. The ship was showing him memories, training him in ancient tactics. Hours passed. When he opened his eyes again, it felt like he had lived years of combat. Dr. Trent's voice came over the coms. Captain, the Council has sent another message. They're telling us to stand down and let them handle negotiations. Cole gave a short laugh. Negotiations? Outside, the Antarctic storm raged. The Revenant's hull glowed faintly against the darkness, strange golden lines shifting like veins under its skin. A group of Galactic Council inspectors had stayed behind, perhaps hoping to see the humans fail. One of them, Vehal Tor, approached. Cole on the ice, you don't understand what you're facing, Vehal Tor said. The Drexians have wiped out entire civilizations in days. They'll burn your oceans, strip your planet for resources, and leave nothing but ash. This relic will not stop them. Cole didn't blink, but I'd rather fight with it than die waiting for your help. Tor's eyes narrowed. Your stubbornness will kill you all. That night, the Drexian fleet crossed into the system. Every observatory on Earth saw them, black specks against the stars, growing larger. The Galactic Council's monitoring stations went silent one by one as the Drexians destroyed them without warning. The Council's last transmission to Earth was short. Do not engage. Cole ignored it. Inside the Revenant, the golden light flared brighter. The ship's voice was calm. They will test us first. Small ships. Scouts, let them come. Dr. Trent looked nervous. If you're wrong, I'm not, Cole said. Minutes later, 3 Drexian scout ships appeared above Antarctica. Hovered for only a moment before opening fire. Brilliant beams of energy. Tearing through the storm toward the Revenant. The ship's shields shimmered like sunlight on water. The beams hit and vanished without a sound. Cole didn't move. Your turn. The Revenant's weapons woke with a deep, thunderous pulse. Bolts of white gold energy leapt from hidden ports along the hull, striking the Drexian scouts. There. There was no explosion. The ship simply vanished, dissolved into light and nothingness. In orbit, the rest of the Drexian fleet slowed. For the first time, they hesitated. On the lead Drexian warship, Commander Zarth watched the destruction. So, it is the Revenant. He turned to his officers. Call the flagship. Tell them we need the full swarm. Back on Earth, Cole. Exhaled slowly. That was just the beginning. Yes, the Revenant replied. The real battle comes next, and when it does, we will remind them what humans are, far beyond the moon. Hundreds of Drexian ships were already changing course, their black holes cutting through space like knives. The countdown to war had begun. The Drexians were coming fast now. Full swarm was only hours away. Across the world, people watched the news in fear. Massive alien warships shone in grainy telescope footage. Moving closer, with every passing minute, the Galactic Council sent no fleet, no reinforcements. Their ships in the system stayed far from Earth, observing but doing nothing. In Antarctica, the Revenant waited like a sleeping giant under the storm. The ice around it had melted into dark pools of water from the heat of its awakened engines. The air shook with low vibrations. A sound too deep to be wind. Captain Rion Cole stood in the command chamber, his hands resting on the living metal of the control chair. Dr. Maya Trent was at his side, looking at the glowing projections of incoming Drexian ships. They'll reach orbit in less than 6 hours, she said quietly. Cole nodded. Then we can't stay here any longer. The Revenant's voice filled the chamber, calm and steady. We leave now. Without another word, the ship began to rise. Snow and ice fell from its hull in massive sheets, crashing into the water. Below, the ground shook violently as the engines roared to life, not like any human or alien engines, but with a sound that seemed to bend the air itself. Rings of golden blue light spun around the ship's rear, folding space in strange patterns. Outside, soldiers and scientists ran for cover, shielding their faces from the shockwave. The Galactic Council observers watched in stunned silence as the massive black vessel lifted free from the frozen ground in orbit. Alien captains reported the same thing over and over. The human relic is airborne. The Revenant climbed higher, faster than any known ship. The sky outside the windows turned from gray storm clouds to deep blue, then to the endless black of space. Stars spread out before them, sharp and cold. Cole gripped the armrests of the control chair. Feels like she's been waiting for this. Have, the ship replied. I was not made to sleep. As they cleared the atmosphere, the Drexian advanced ships appeared on the horizon, long black silhouettes against the stars. They began to spread out, forming a net to surround Earth. Picking up transmissions, Dr. Trent reported. They're hailing the council ships, telling them to stand aside. Cole gave a sharp smile. Good, that means they're afraid. Of the Drexian ships moved forward, firing a warning shot that cut past the Revenant's bow. The beam was powerful enough to tear through a modern battleship in one strike. The Revenant didn't even flinch. They want us to turn back, the ship said. We will answer them. Panels along the hull slid open, revealing weapons that glowed with white gold light. The energy built to a low rumble, and then without. Warning, the Revenant fired. The beam ripped through the Drexian ship like paper, splitting it cleanly in half. The pieces drifted apart, burning in the cold dark. In the Drexian fleet, sudden movement broke the formation. Their ships shifted to battle stance, weapons powering up. On the Drexian flagship, Commander Zarth's expression hardened. Still has its teeth. No matter. Tear them out. The Revenant accelerated. Cole felt his stomach drop as the stars blurred around them. No human ship could move like this. Even the Council's fastest interceptors would have been left far behind. In moments, they were inside the Drexian formation. The ship moved like a predator among prey, turning sharply between enemy ships. Each maneuver impossible by modern standards. Its weapons fire filled space, green and red beams cutting across the void, but none touched the Revenant. Its shields bent the attacks away, scattering them harmlessly. Dr. Trent stared at the displays. They can't even track us properly. Their targeting systems can't keep up. Cole focused on the largest Drexian vessel in range. Let's see what you've got left. The Revenant unleashed a storm of fire, thin slicing beams, and bursts of white gold energy that shattered Drexian hulls. One after another, the enemy ships exploded or broke apart. Their wreckage tumbling into the void. In less than 5 minutes, 12 Drexian warships were gone. But even as they fell, more were arriving. From the far edge of the system, the true Drexian flagship appeared. It was enormous, almost the size of a small moon, with jagged black armor and a weapon array that glowed with an ominous red light. Dr. Trent's voice was low. That is not a normal warship. The Revenant's voice darkened. Is a planet killer. I have faced one before. They are not easy to destroy. Cole's hands tightened on the chair. But you can do it. Perhaps the ship replied, but it will not be without cost. The planet killer began to charge its primary weapon. A massive sphere of crimson energy grew at its core, pulsing with deadly light. If it fired, it could tear Earth's surface apart in a single strike. Cole looked at the image of Earth on the display, and we hit it first. The Revenant angled toward the flagship, its engines burning brighter than before. The hum in the command chamber deepened, as if the ship itself was preparing for something it hadn't done in a long time. Far away, Commander Zarth watched the ancient warship coming straight for him. His smile was gone now. For the first time in years, he felt something he hated. The cold, creeping edge of fear. The galaxy had mocked humanity for as long as anyone could remember. But as the Revenant closed in, the laughter was beginning to fade. The Drexian planet killer loomed ahead like a black mountain drifting through space. Its crimson core swirled and pulsed, brighter with every second, the glow casting sharp red light across the void. Every ship in the Drexian fleet moved aside to give it space. This was the weapon they trusted to end worlds. Inside the Revenant's command chamber, Captain Rion Cole watched the readings climb. The weapon was almost fully charged. It fired, Earth would be gone. We have less than 3 minutes. Dr. Maya Trent said, her voice tight. If it reaches full power, it won't, Cole said. The ship's voice joined them, calm but edged with something ancient. That weapon is old, but deadly. Its armor is too strong for modern weapons. But not for mine. Panels slid open along the Revenant's hull, revealing weapons that glowed white gold, their light so bright it spilled into the command chamber. Cole felt the hum of the ship grow deeper, almost alive with anticipation. The Drexian fleet moved to intercept, but the Revenant surged forward, twisting through space in impossible maneuvers. Enemy fire streaked past, beams of red and green energy cutting through the dark, but not a single one struck home. Cole's voice was steady. Target their forward gun. The Revenant fired. A single beam of pure white gold energy shot out, cutting across the void like a blade, struck the planet killer's forward armor, and for the first time, the Drexian flagship shuddered. Armor plates blackened, and the glow of its weapon dimmed slightly. They felt that Dr. Trent, said the Drexians answered instantly. The planet killer fired its secondary weapons, massive bursts of plasma that exploded around the Revenant like miniature suns. The shields flared, holding, but each hit shook the ship. Cole gritted his teeth. Shields holding. For now, the Revenant replied, but this battle cannot be won by distance. We must get close. Close meant dangerous. The Drexian flagship bristled with guns, missile ports, and defense turrets that could shred smaller ships to pieces. But Cole didn't hesitate. Do it. The Revenant's engines blazed, space blurred. They dove straight toward the planet killer. Enemy ships swarmed to block them. But the Revenant moved like a predator, weaving, twisting, its weapons tearing apart anything in its path. In seconds, 5 more Drexian warships were reduced to glowing debris as they closed in. Cole could see the details of the planet killer's surface. Jagged armor. Glowing crimson veins of power running along its hull. Massive gun towers swiveling to track them. "They're about to fire the main weapon," Dr. Trent warned. Cole leaned forward. "Then we fire first." The Revenant's primary cannon roared, a beam so bright it cut through the blackness like a tear in reality. It slammed into the planet killer's core, forcing the Drexian flagship to tilt under the impact. The crimson glow faltered, flickered, but did not die. "They're overloading the weapon," Dr. Trent shouted. "If it fires now, then we will end it now," the Revenant said. Without warning, the ship's energy readings spiked. The golden lines along the hull flared, brighter than they had ever been. The power was so intense that the entire chamber vibrated, the air tasting of static. Cole felt it. "You're going to use everything you have?" "Yes," the ship replied simply. The cannon fired again, but this time the beam was different. Sharper, burning with an almost living light. It slammed directly into the planet killer's weapon core. There was a soundless explosion. A bloom of golden fire that swallowed the front half of the Drexian flagship. The crimson light went out instantly. Debris spun away into the dark. The shockwave rippled across the battlefield, shaking even the most distant Drexian ships. The Revenant's voice was softer now. "The weapon is gone. The ship is crippled. The battle is not over." Cole looked at the displays. He could see the rest of the Drexian fleet regrouping. The loss of their flagship had not broken them. It had only made them angrier. "They're still coming," Dr. Trent said. Cole's eyes hardened. "Then we finish this." On the far side of the system, Commander Zarth's escape craft sped. Away from the wreckage of his destroyed flagship, he stared at the burning debris behind him, his claws tightening. "The humans have awakened a monster," he muttered. "But they will not have it for long." He sent a transmission across the Drexian channels. "All forces converge. The Revenant is priority target." As Cole watched dozens more enemy ships moving in, the ship's voice echoed in his mind. "We are outnumbered, but I have faced worse. You still wish to fight?" Cole didn't even blink. "Always." The golden light along the Revenant's hull flared again. The ancient warship turned toward the incoming swarm, ready to show the galaxy that humanity's days of being mocked were over. The galaxy was in chaos. Word of the ship's awakening had spread to every corner of space, but with the news came fear. Fleets were on the move, governments were panicking, and bounty hunters smelled an opportunity. They thought if they could capture the ancient warship, they would own the stars. But none of them understood what they were chasing. On a remote asteroid station, Captain Lorvik sat in a dimly lit bar. His ship was old, his crew tired, but the promise of unimaginable power was enough to spark life into his greedy eyes. "It's just a machine," he said to his pilot, "and machines can be shut down." The others in the bar laughed. Some agreed, others shook their heads, whispering warnings about the old legends that spoke of a ship that could burn fleets in seconds. While smugglers and mercenaries plotted, the Galactic Council gathered in a high-security chamber. The most powerful leaders in the galaxy sat around a long black table. The image of the human warship hovered above its leak, dark and silent, with edges sharp as blades. The council chairwoman's voice was cold. "We all know what this ship did in the old wars. If the humans are waking it up, we're all in danger." The reptilian ambassador hissed. "Then we must destroy it before it leaves its dock." But not everyone agreed. A young ambassador from the Kaleri system leaned forward. "Destroying it will only provoke the humans. They built this ship for a reason. Maybe we should talk." His words were met with laughter. "Talk?" Barked. "A four-armed general? You don't talk to predators. You put them down." Meanwhile, far away in the hidden human sector, the crew of the Vanguard worked in silence. Commander Elias stood on the bridge, his gaze locked on the massive silhouette in the distance. The ship's black hull reflected almost no light, If it swallowed it, how much longer? Elias asked. The chief engineer wiped grease from her hands. 2 days, maybe less. But, sir, the power readings are off the charts. This ship, it feels alive. Outside the dock, massive blast doors remained sealed, but patrol drones circled the perimeter. The humans weren't hiding the warship anymore, they were guarding it. Every soldier knew that once those doors opened, the galaxy would change. Forever, back in neutral space, fleets began moving closer to human territory. Small scout ships crept along the borders, scanning for any sign of the launch. One unlucky scout got too close. Without warning, it vanished from sensors. No explosion, no debris, just gone. The only thing the recording showed before the feed cut out was a faint shimmer, like a ripple in space. That ripple was noticed. A hacker named Jern, working for the black market guilds, intercepted the footage. He ran it through every filter he had, and what he saw made his hands shake. It wasn't a ripple, it was a shadow, a moving shadow the size of a city, gliding through the darkness toward the scout ship. This isn't a warship, Jern whispered. This is a predator. Still, greed overpowered fear. The bounty on the ship doubled overnight. Dozens of captains set course for the human sector, each believing they could outsmart the humans, steal the ship, and vanish before anyone could stop them. But in the darkness of the hidden dock, the ship itself stirred. Lights flickered deep inside its structure, systems hummed awake, and something ancient remembered. It didn't just power on, it listened. To the voices outside, to the threats, to the fear. And slowly, as if deciding, for itself, it began plotting. The countdown had begun, and the galaxy had no idea what was about to be unleashed. The enemy fleet had not expected the human warship to survive the last assault. The galaxy's most powerful armadas had thrown everything they had: missiles, plasma, and weapons so advanced that entire planets had fallen to them before. Yet, the warship still drifted forward, its black armor scorched but unbroken, its engines glowing like the heart of a star. On every enemy ship, there was silence. No one spoke. Even the most battle-hardened officers stared at the human vessel as if it were something from an old nightmare. They had mocked humans for centuries. They had called them primitive, weak, unworthy of the stars. Now they could see the truth. This was no ordinary warship. It was ancient. It was deadly. And it was still coming. Inside the human warship, Commander, Hallie studied the tactical display. Red markers covered the screen. Hundreds of enemy ships still remained. The crew was exhausted, their faces pale, but their eyes burned with determination. Target the flagships, Hale ordered quietly. His voice was calm, almost too calm. Let them know they are not in control anymore. The gunners obeyed. Massive cannons rotated into position. There was no roar, no sound in the vacuum of space. But the moment the weapons fired, the darkness outside lit up with blinding lances of energy. One flagship vanished in an instant. No explosion, just a sudden burst of light, and then empty, a space where it had been. Another followed seconds later. The enemy formation wavered. On the enemy command ship, Admiral Verone gripped the arm of his chair so hard, his claws left marks in the metal. Fall back, he ordered, his voice trembling. But before the retreat could begin, the human warship changed course, accelerating so fast that even advanced sensors struggled to keep track of it. It moved like a predator that had chosen its prey. The enemy tried to scatter. They thought they could flee and regroup. But every time a ship broke formation, the warship was there, cutting them off, destroying them without hesitation. It didn't fight like any modern vessel. It fought like a living thing, anticipating moves before they happened. In the crew quarters of the warship, Engineer Mara was patching damaged systems when she felt the deck shudder under her feet. Not from an enemy hit, but from the warship itself. It's waking up, she whispered. The others around her exchanged uneasy glances. For days they had felt something strange. The warship was more than metal and engines. It was aware. It wanted to fight. On the bridge, Hale noticed it too. The ship's weapons were recharging faster. Shields were repairing on their own. The controls felt easier, as if the ship was guiding his hands. "You've been asleep a long time," he murmured to the console. "Show them what you can do." And the ship did. It dove straight into the densest cluster of enemy vessels. Cannons thundered. Missiles streaked out in every direction. Whole squadrons vanished in the blink of an eye. Surviving enemy ships tried to keep their distance. But the warship's targeting systems reached across impossible ranges. No one was safe. The galaxy was watching. Across hundreds of worlds, news feeds showed the battle in real time. Billions saw the warship cutting through fleets that had ruled space for centuries. On alien streets, crowds stood silent, their faces lit by screens. Some whispered in fear, others in awe. Back in the battle, the enemy was breaking. Even the most loyal captains were abandoning their admiral, shutting down weapons and fleeing at maximum speed. But Hale knew they couldn't let them all escape. "End this," he said, his voice low. The warship's engines flared, and it unleashed its final strike, a wave of energy that rippled through space, disabling every hostile ship within sight. No explosions this time, no fire, just silence. Every enemy ship floated dead in the void, powerless, waiting for their fate. The warship slowed, its black hole gleaming in the light of distant stars. Hale stood on the bridge, staring at the screen. "They mocked us," he said softly. "Now they'll remember us." Far away in hidden command centers, the leaders of the galactic powers watched in disbelief. Some began emergency evacuation plans. Others prepared messages of surrender. The balance of the galaxy had shifted, and they knew it. But Hale and his crew also knew the truth. This battle was only the beginning. The galaxy had seen the warship's power. Fear would spread, but so would ambition. Others would come hoping to claim the ship for themselves. The crew exchanged glances, each of them thinking the same thing. They had woken something ancient, and it would not rest until the galaxy was changed forever. In the silence of space, the warship drifted forward, its sensors scanning far beyond the battlefield. Somewhere deep in the shadows between the stars, another signal pulsed a message. Only the warship could understand. It was not a warning, it was an invitation. And the warship turned toward it. The galaxy was holding its breath. From the smallest asteroid stations to the largest capital worlds, every transmission was the same. The human warship was returning to Earth. No one knew if it was victory or disaster. The footage from the last battle was still being replayed across news channels. One ship, ancient yet unstoppable, cutting through fleets as if they were paper. Inside the ship, the bridge was quiet. The lights were dim, the air heavy. Captain Reeves sat in the command chair, watching the stars slide past on the forward screen. His crew, both human and alien allies, worked silently. The smell of burnt circuitry still hung in the air from the last engagement. The hull had been breached in 3 places, but the ship's strange. Self-healing armor had already closed the wounds. "We're almost home," the navigator whispered, almost like he didn't want to disturb the moment. Reeve didn't reply. His eyes were fixed on something only he could see. The weight of decisions made, the cost paid. Thousands of enemy ships had fallen. Hundreds of planets had been freed. But the war wasn't over. It was only paused. "Captain," the AI's calm voice filled the bridge. "A final message from the Galactic Council. They wish to negotiate." Reeve gave a cold smile. Now they want to talk. He remembered how the Council had laughed at Earth's warnings. They'd called humanity primitive, unimportant, not worth listening to. And now, after one ancient ship had proved them wrong, they were begging. The irony was almost too much to bear. The comms officer hesitated. "Should I patch them through?" "No," Reeve said simply. "Not yet." The ship slipped into Earth's orbit. The planet was a jewel of blue and green below them, peaceful, almost innocent compared to the chaos they had just left behind. But even here, in the calm of home, Reeve could feel the eyes of the galaxy watching. Docking clamps locked onto the warship's hull. A deep, resonant sound echoed through the decks. The engines powered down for the first time in months. Crew members stood from their stations, some sighing in relief. Others unable to shake the feeling that the fight wasn't over. The hangar doors opened, and a flood of media drones swarmed inside, their cameras scanning every scorch mark, every dent. Questions were shouted through open comm lines, but no one answered. This wasn't a day for explanations. It was a day for warnings. On the surface, leaders from across Earth's allied worlds had gathered. They stood in tense silence. As the warship's boarding ramp lowered, Captain Reeve stepped out first, his uniform still torn from battle. Behind him came the crew, each one carrying the scars of war. A murmur swept through the crowd. Some had never seen the captain in person before, only in grainy battle footage. They saw the man who had turned the galaxy's laughter into silence. An envoy from the Galactic Council stepped forward, flanked by guards. His voice trembled, but he tried to hide it. Captain Reeve, the Council requests your cooperation in establishing peace. We believe this war has gone too far. Reeve stared at him for a long moment. Then he stepped closer, his boots heavy. On the landing platform, too far. Reeve's voice was low, dangerous. It went too far the moment you called us weak. It went too far when you allowed entire worlds to burn because you thought humans were too primitive to matter. Now you want peace? Tell your council this peace will come when the last chain is broken, not before. The envoy swallowed hard, his eyes darting to the massive warship looming behind Reeve. Its dark hull seemed to drink in the sunlight. Its shape alien yet unmistakably human-built. For a moment, it almost felt alive. Before the envoy could speak again, alarms blared. The warship's AI spoke through the comms, but urgent. Captain, long-range sensors detect a fleet entering the system. Not friendly. Gasps spread through the gathered crowd. Reeve turned, his expression hardening. Of course, he muttered. They couldn't resist. The AI continued. Fleet composition, 1,000 warships, estimated time to engagement 20 minutes. Reeve looked at his crew then. At the leaders assembled, get the civilians underground. Now. The crew sprinted back into the ship. Engines roared to life, the ancient hull glowing faintly as systems powered up. The boarding ramp retracted, and the warship lifted into the sky with a deep, thunderous hum. It rose higher, breaking through the clouds, until Earth was just a curve of blue beneath them. On the bridge, Reeve sat once again in his chair. Open. Comes to the fleet, he ordered. 1,000 red blips filled the tactical screen. The enemy had arrived, sleek, modern warships, each bristling with weapons. But Reeve felt no fear. If anything, he felt a strange calm. This ship had been built for moments like this, the AI spoke. Tactical suggestion. Engage immediately. Reeve smiled faintly. Let them see us first. The warship's cloak dropped for a moment. The enemy fleet hesitated. Perhaps they had expected a battered vessel limping home from war. Instead, they saw the dark, towering silhouette of the most feared ship in the galaxy, its weapons charged, its shields flaring with power. This is Captain Reeve of the human warship Oblivion's Wake, he said, his voice echoing across. Every enemy channel, you have one chance to turn back. Fail, and there will be no second warning. Static filled the comms. Then a voice answered, cold and mocking. You're only one ship. We have 1,000. Reeve leaned forward. Then you'll need more. The AI's targeting systems locked on. Energy built inside the ship's core, a low hum vibrating through the decks. Outside, the stars seemed to bend as the ancient engines prepared for war. The first shot ripped through the void so bright it turned space itself white for an instant. An enemy battleship vanished in a single explosion. Then the warship moved. Impossibly fast for its size, weaving between enemy fire, turning shot for shot. From the surface of Earth, people watched the sky light up as the battle began. To them, it looked like the stars were burning. On the bridge, Reeve didn't smile. He didn't need to. This was more than victory. This was a message to the Council, to the enemy, to the entire galaxy. Humanity wasn't to be mocked. Not anymore. Not ever again.